Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Concepts Show, here exclusive to the Paranormal UK radio network. I'm your host, Richard Clements, and yes, don't worry, it is the Paranormal Concept Show. I know you're always expecting Paul to come on first, but we thought we'd have a little bit of a change around this evening, and Paul sort of sprang it on me, goes, nah, and I want you to introduce it. So, how you doing, Paul?
Yeah, not too bad, Richard. Yeah, I just thought I'd shake things up because Kerry's not here. So, you know, why not?
Yeah. When the cat's away, the mice will play, won't they?
Absolutely. That's the way it should be done.
Yeah. And for those listening, don't worry, and Kerry's all right, but she's away on holiday at the moment. She's jetted off to sunny Spain. And it's all right for some, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? You know what? She'll come back and she'll get us one of those T-shirts that says, my friend went to Spain and all we got was this lousy T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Or sort of like, I was hoping for a sombrero or something, but we'll have to wait and see what she brings back for us.
I bet you she brings back. I bet you she brings back some crystals.
Oh, without doubt, yeah, she's probably there at the moment, sort of mining into the mountains as we speak, pulling out all sorts of lovely crystals.
That's it. She's already climbed the mountains. Now she's mining them as well.
Okay, should we move on to our guest?
Yes, absolutely. Let's introduce the guest. Do you want the honours, Richard?
No, I'll let you do the honours.
Okay, so for this week, I sent out lots of emails and only one person replied. The very first email that I sent out, and it's my very good friend Vivien Powell.
Very dependable is our Vivien.
Absolutely, yeah. Hello, Viv.
Hello. What email was that? Did I get it?
It might have been messages. I don't know, one or the other. You're always my first message that I send off, but I sent a few others out, and you're the winner. You won.
Oh, do I get a T-shirt?
Yeah, you can have a T-shirt if you want. What sort of T-shirt would you like? A Spanish one. We'll get Kerry to bring you one back from Spain.
No, I'd rather have one of those paranormal concept radio show books because they're fantastic.
Oh, I know. They are really good. And if anyone wants one, you can buy them from the website, which is paranormalconcept.com.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's so much information on that, not just in the books, but on the website as well. There's lots of blogs to read, which I'll be changing very shortly because they're all going to go into the new book.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And there's some exclusive stuff in the new book. So watch this space.
Watch this space, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're taking our time launching this book because we want to get it right and perfect for everyone else. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Excellent.
So Viv, for the listeners, do you want to just explain a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, my name is Vivien Powell, also known as Spooky Viv. I'm a spiritualist medium. I'm a paranormal investigator. I also do these podcasts on live on Facebook. I'm also a member of Striking Midnight Paranormal, which is on YouTube, content creator. And I'm also part of Ghost Quest, which is the same.
Fantastic. You're the co-host with Dan Winters, who we had on last week. Dan Winter.
Yeah, I am. I did listen to that show.
Good. What is he like? What is he like as a co-host?
Oh, that boy can chat, can't he? No, he's ever so good. He is ever so good. Couldn't do it without him, to be honest.
Yeah, I've met him a few times. He's an absolutely fabulous person, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not only just a co-host and somebody I work closely with within the paranormal, he's also a very good and very close friend of mine. He's like my rock, he is. So we do go back a very long time, Dan and I do. So it's not as though we only sort of knew each other through this. We knew each other before. He's a good bloke, but we won't tell him that though. We don't want to give him a big head.
No, he won't get you through your front door then, will he?
I know, he's terrible.
So saying you've known Dan for a long time, I mean, and where did sort of who you've become now, and where did this all start? Did the mediumship come first, and then a sort of an interest in the paranormal, or what?
The mediumship came first. I used to have a terrible time as a child, seeing spirit, hearing them wanting to talk to me, that sort of thing. So that was an awful time in my childhood. I don't care what people say as kids. When you see and hear and feel things like that, it's terrifying. And my parents were quite strict, because I was scaring everybody else in the household. It's like slapped and sent to bed sort of thing. And that was normal of the day. No, my mum didn't abuse me or anything like that. That was just how we were brought up back then. If you did something wrong, you got a good clip round the ear roll, and it was terrifying. And as I was growing up, I suppose it sort of dwindled a little bit, not too much. I was still seeing a lot. And then in my teens, it came back with a vengeance. And I think I was in my late teens, early 20s when I saw something. And it was quite drastic and dramatic. And basically a local spiritualist church helped me. It was lose it or use it. I was given that option.
Right.
The option was made to me by the head of that church, if you like. She was lovely, really lovely lady. Because I didn't know what she was on about, I couldn't make a decision. So she made the decision for me to use it. So she arranged for me to sit in a circle. She found the right circle for me. And when I say circle meeting is where people with certain abilities go to fine tune their abilities, if you like. So it took me 9 months from stepping into that circle and first meeting this guy called John Reese to actually going on platform in a spiritualist church, giving demonstrations of mediumship and holding Sunday services for him. It took me 9 months from the day I walked into his circle to the day I walked into a church and did a divine Sunday service.
That sounds quite a quick process to me.
It is, and the reason it was is because I was so advanced. When I say so advanced, what I mean by that was I was seeing freely, I was hearing freely, and I was sensing, and I could use my third eye quite. I was doing all that naturally as a child, and I had it all the way through. And when I found John, he was able to, and with the help of guides, introduction to guides, and learning how to use those abilities correctly, because you can be given stuff which is a symbolic message, or you can see a symbol. For example, I'll use myself as an example. I used to see what looked like the Mercedes sign underneath my dining room table. For years I was seeing this Mercedes sign. And at the time I was going through a pretty rotten relationship with the father of my 2 elder children. And I kept seeing this Mercedes sign, and I kept putting it down to stress, because of what I was going through with my partner at the time. And I just tried to ignore it. And then when I had a friend came round for coffee in the afternoon when all the children were at school and I was on my own, she sat me down and I said, I'm seeing that Mercedes sign again. And through her saying, no, actually, sit in, link in with your guide, get them to explain why you're seeing a Mercedes. Are you getting a new car? It transpires the Mercedes sign was the CND sign for peace. My guides were trying to tell me that everything will come to a head and I will find peace. And literally about 3 months after that incident with sitting with my friend, me and my partner went our separate ways and I found peace. So it just goes to show you, like, you can see something, like you can see it with the physical eye, but it's not what you're actually seeing. It was a symbolic message they were telling me you will get peace. And that was the way that they were doing it.
So if there is someone out there that wants to progress in mediumship, whatever level they are, would you say then that the best place to go is either to a spiritual church or look for a circle somewhere that's local?
I would say start off with your local spiritualist church. They can put you in touch with the right people. And through the spiritualist churches, you will find, because not all circles are right for certain individuals, you have to find the right one that you fit into.
Mm.
So it's a matter of going to your spiritualist church, and you have to make time to be able to learn and progress. If you think this is going to be an overnight thing and it's going to happen really quickly, think again, because it's not. It's a lot of hard work. You have to put the work in yourself. Spirit won't do it for you. So yeah, I would say get into the spiritualist churches, learn how to meditate properly. I mean, YouTube is a wonderful thing, okay? But if you want to progress with mediumship, YouTube is a tool that you can use, but alongside a spiritualist church and around people that know what they're doing, because it can get pretty hairy at times, let's just say that. And you do need the support of others around you, otherwise you're never ever going to get through it.
So is there a lot of instructional videos on YouTube then?
Well, I heard, oh, it's so funny. Somebody on Facebook, I'm not going to mention any names, I won't do that to her. Somebody was asking the best way to practice their mediumship, and this particular person said, go on YouTube and meditate. That's all you need.
Okay.
I nearly spat my coffee out. I thought, what? Like, because some mediums, I mean, it can take years to perfect their craft. I call it a craft, or gift, or whatever you want to call it. Others, it will come very quickly. So it depends on what stage you're at any given time, So yeah, I just thought when they said go on YouTube, I thought, yeah, you can use it as a tool alongside what you're being taught within Circle to help you progress. But really, Circle's what you need. You're not going to learn half the things that you'll get taught or get shown through Circle or through your guides unless you've got them as a like a fallout sort of thing to lean on if you need them.
So I'm taking it is then music, maybe like the sounds of the sea, or
see, no, a good medium won't need to meditate with sounds, sea, or anything.
But then if you're practicing, then that would be quite ideal because you haven't got to worry about getting sounds.
Also won't tell you don't meditate while you're laying down, don't meditate while you're in the bath, don't meditate when you're in bed, and there are reasons why you shouldn't do that.
I'd fall asleep.
Yeah, you fall asleep. That's what.
You could fall asleep. You could drown in the bath for one.
Just...
So yeah, there's other reasons as well alongside that. Your good Mrs. Lucy, she could do it. She could tell you all about that. But yeah, it takes time, and it takes time to harness what you're learning at that particular time. It's like if you imagine a big exercise, but be like being back at school and you've got a big maths book and you've got exercise 1, lesson 1, exercise 1.1, and then you've got 1.2, 1.3, and you have to pass them all before you'll move on to the next section, if you like. And to be able to get through that exercise book takes some work, so that's the only way I can sort of describe that with regards to mediumship. And because there's lots of varying levels as well and different aspects to it, it's getting to grips and learning all of that. You have to put time in. I know me and Lucy sat together for 2 years.
Yeah,
she's flying on her own now, because I also teach. I didn't tell you that. Kept that one quiet. But I'm also very picky as to why I teach people now.
Yeah.
This is a gift that should be shared and talked to others. And I did impart a lot of I did not impart knowledge. That's not the right word. We learn together, Lucy and I. She's at a level now. I'm really proud of her, and she's flying on her own colours, off her own esteem.
Absolutely, I do keep telling her though she needs to do more meditation.
She don't actually, because it happens. Don't worry.
Oh no, she does, because I get things thrown at me now. It is. I mean, there's things. There's things. Well, yeah, but there's things going on. Yeah, that just happens when she hasn't meditated for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like they're hammering on the wall going, oi, we're here. Come on.
They're itching to
Come
work
talk
with
to
her. I know about
Yeah.
her guide, yeah.
Yeah.
But we won't discuss it because that's private for Lucy, you know.
No, that's right, absolutely. But when the ironing board flies at me, that's my limit. I'm like, no, do it.
Spirit are telling you to get and do some ironing and don't leave it for Lucy. It's what it is.
Oh yeah, that. Well, I keep telling her, all you've got to do is fold up your the trousers or skirts or whatever, and just chuck them under the mattress. That works, as every single bloke knows.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh dear, that was funny. Oh dear. Yeah. So I've also heard that you're taking America by storm.
Oh, I don't know about that. I was tail end of last year. I was in Oregon visiting a very good friend of mine, William Becker, and while I was there, and this is Dan's fault, I'm blaming that man for everything. He wanted me when he found out I was in Oregon. It's Bigfoot country, okay?
Yep.
He wanted me to go to this Bigfoot museum. So, because I think I rang him twice while I was away. And he said, oh, while you're there, if you get time, can you go in this Bigfoot museum and can you get me this book? Of course, I'm not into Bigfoot at all. You know, that's not my thing, really. I checked out where the museum was and it wasn't too far away. And William agreed to take me. So off we trotted off to this Bigfoot museum. And then he was telling me this guy who was on Finding Bigfoot on the Animal Planet.
Yeah, I know this show, yeah.
So this guy called Cliff run this Bigfoot museum, apparently. And if I was there, if this Cliff was there, could I get him to sign this book? And I went, oh, yeah, I can do that. I don't know who this Cliff is. You know, I'm going to have to, because I'm quite a mouthy person, as you know.
No,
I'm going to have to use my gob to find out who this Cliff guy is and get him to sign this book for Dan.
Yep.
So while I was there, of course, I'm getting involved in looking around the museum, and they sold plaster casts of Bigfoot, the actual cast of the Bigfoot. And so this guy behind the counter served me. Nice fella he was, only young, and he helped me choose a plaster cast for Dan, and we chose one that came from native Oregon. And he said to me, "Oh, Cliff Barrackman's going to be in about 10-15 minutes." I went, "Oh, is he really?" He was, yeah. So do me a favour, get him to sign this Bigfoot plaster cast on the underside, you know. And he went, well, when he comes in, he said, you can ask him if you want. I went, yeah, okay. So I've been looking around the museum now and doing the tourist thing, taking lots of pictures. And he did walk in and I stopped him and I said, look, can you sign this plaster cast? It's going back to the UK. So he did, he signed it. You know, I put, no, can you sign it to Dan, whatever, and then your name. I didn't even know who he was. And so he signed it because he was going up to do a podcast. He does a monthly podcast or something. So he disappeared into the office pretty sharpish. But this guy was telling me that when I take plaster of Paris, I'd have to put it in my hand luggage. And the security people will pull you when they x-ray your bag, because there's something in it that looks very similar to Semtex.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose that does make some sort of sense. Yeah.
But it was funny. I went when I bought it home, and I think it was in Los Angeles, because I had to come out and change airlines and terminals and all the rest of it. And I had to go through security in Los Angeles. And the woman, she said to me, "Is this your case, ma'am?" And I said, yes. I'm thinking, oh, God, here we go. I didn't get this in Oregon. I'm getting it in LA. They're going to throw me in prison or something. And she was quite a stern lady. She said, "Is this your bag, ma'am?" I said, yes. She said, "Have you got anything sharp in here?" I said, no, but I do have plaster of Paris in the shape of a Bigfoot. I went, oh, she went, oh, what? She didn't understand what I was telling her. I said, it's a plaster cast of a footprint. And then she didn't even bother looking. She peered in the side and she went, "Oh, that's okay. Just go on and go through." She wouldn't bother, you know. But I thought, I'm going to be so embarrassed trying to explain to her what it is. And I had to go through that for Dan. And then when I got home and give it to him finally, he cried like a little girl.
Oh,
He said, "Oh, it's ever so lovely." He said, "I couldn't believe you brought me an actual foot home." I said, "I told you I'd get you a foot if I could, you know." So he didn't get his book. He got a foot instead.
oh, that's okay. Though,
Something a bit different. But
Yeah.
I know he treasures it. He's got it up on his wall, apparently.
Oh,
It's big stuff.
that's nice.
But
yeah.
from there, it did sort of incite me into looking at Bigfoot. What is it? And getting into the cryptid thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going back over there in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm going back to the Bigfoot Museum. And hopefully, weather and time permitting, William and I are going to go into the forests and do a bit of what they call squatching together.
Ooh,
Oh,
that'd be
right.
good.
That
So
sounds
we are
really good, actually.
we are
I'd
going
love
to have
to do it.
We're not going to do it sort of like heavily and, you know, sort of seriously. It's just going to be a little afternoon where we'll go to an area
Yeah.
and see if anything does decide to appear, you know. Who knows? Because they're known
that's
to
it.
get broad daylight. They're just
Yeah, that would be interesting because there's lots of different theories to what Bigfoot is, and some people and even say it's not a flesh and blood sort of creature. It's more sort of ethereal than that. You know, you ought to take don't forget to take your psychic skills because you know and you never know.
Well, apparently it gives off this smell. Now, when I was in the museum, they tried to replicate this smell, and I swear it was skunk juice or something that they had that you could smell.
Yeah.
And this smell, I can only describe it, is it smell, you know, like when you go to the zoo and you see the elephants and they're a bit funny in the summer.
Yeah.
Imagine that kind of, like that sort of musty, pooey animal smell. But combine that with skunk that is so acidic that the smell even burns your nose. Once you smell it, it takes a long time for that smell to leave your nostrils.
Yeah. I've actually heard they do smell a bit.
Yeah. But apparently that's one of the telltale signs that you're in the presence of a Bigfoot is that smell. They tried to recreate that in the museum so you could smell it, but they said that it's not even a patch of how strong that really is, that smell that it give off.
So have you researched the Bigfoots now then?
Well, in the museum, it was one of the big things that they were talking about, and they got this bottle of stuff that you can actually go and have a smell. Of course, me being me, well, let's have a smell. Didn't think it'd be that bad. It was awful. I was gagging and everything. It was like,
I just wondered if you was going to go and have a look for the UK's Bigfoot.
There is something lined up for later in the year. Dan and I are going on the hunt for Dogman. I don't know if people know about the Dogman story in the UK.
I think we covered that a couple of weeks ago with Alison Jordan.
Yeah, we're because there was a sighting very close to Dan in a children's playground of all places. It hit the national news and everything. That was a good few years ago now.
Okay.
So
there's some sightings of not only just Bigfoot but Dogman as well, and that was just down the road from where I am.
In England, we have they call it Woman. Is it Woman or the Woodman in Norfolk, which is a form of Bigfoot when you think about it.
Okay.
We got Dogman. We've also got the Shuck. We've got Owlman. Did you know about Owlman?
I have heard of that.
I've heard of that as well.
Yeah.
In Cornwall of all places, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they've got, is it Mothman over in the States? It's like, move over, Mothman. We got an Owlman. Get us. You know, we got to go one up.
Yeah, no, I did say, because we was talking cryptoids with Alison Jordan a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I really do envy the US because they have some amazing cryptoids over there. Not only they've got the Mothman, the Dogman, like, you know, and other variations of animal and man. but in the UK, it tends to be a majority of them are big cats.
No, well, we have got a few over here, Paul. I think that a lot of people, because the British are very, how can I explain it as compared to Americans without seeming rude? The British are very, they'll see it and then they'll deny that they saw it. It's
Yeah.
like the ghost thing. They'll see something, oh, no, it was my mind, I was tired, or it was late at night, I can't be sure, and they'll dismiss it. And a lot of people have been seeing Bigfoot over in the UK for a very, very long time. We also, but did you know we have mermaids?
Yeah, is that down in Cornwall and Devon area?
Yeah, the RNLI actually had a training. You know when they go out on the what do you call it? I call it the rubber dinghy thing, but it's not a rubber dinghy.
Yeah, like
on the boat thing,
yeah.
and they go out and they do like it's like practicing their manoeuvres or whatever it is in case of a real call. And they were doing that, and they were filming these two new recruits. Actually, got actual film footage of this mermaid. It was unreal. I think you can see it on YouTube. If you put in mermaid and RNLI, it might come up. But
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
yeah, they actually caught, and they didn't mean to. They didn't even know it was there, and it was rough sea conditions when they were out doing these exercises.
Yeah.
And they actually caught this mermaid. It's not what you would imagine a mermaid to look pretty and a woman type creature. Wasn't like that at all. You'd be surprised, but
So it wasn't a sea cow.
no sea cows involved. They're cute.
Okay.
They are. They're cute.
So
Yeah.
we've sort of spoke briefly about your sort of like your mediumship sort of came first as regards sort of like the whole sort of area of the paranormal. But
Yeah.
when did you sort of first get an interest in the paranormal in general? You know, sort of like investigating and all
Okay.
and everything that goes on.
Well, I was serving the churches in my oh God, it was in my 20s. I was serving the churches, and through the church, this lady approached me from the audience, and basically she was telling me she had problems in her house and she wanted me to go to her house to help her. And I said, yeah. I said, I don't know what I could do, but she said, no, please come to, I'm begging you, come to my house. So it was a case of, I was dropped outside the house, made sure I got in okay, and I was going to be picked up at a certain time, you know, because it's a stranger's house. And when I got there, you know, and found out what was going on where the occurrences and why the occurrences were happened, that sparked my interest in the paranormal. She was having poltergeist activity in her house. And when I say poltergeist activity, I don't mean that there was a ghost in there. It was her son that was causing the issues. Because a lot of people get that mixed up, that poltergeist activity is a ghost, you know, a ghostly thing. And this phenomena happens around ghosts. No, it doesn't. It's a phenomena that the human can manifest themselves. So that's exactly what happened. And that sparked my interest in the paranormal. And then going down that pathway of helping people that had problems and issues. So that took me to a different level of study, research, sitting in seminars, going to back to school again, and sitting in yet another circle to learn about that. I don't want to call it spirit rescue, because it's not, because no one needs to be rescued, neither does the spirit. So that's what some people call it, but I don't like calling it that, because that's not what actually happens, you know. You're not rescuing anyone, and you're sort of giving people the tools to help themselves, and that's basically what it is, you know. So yeah, that point I got interested and involved in the paranormal, and it's taken me not just paranormal but into the darker side of things as well. I did a lot of research for about 15 years. I studied some really naughty stuff, and I had to, because I had to learn some of the naughty stuff to understand how you even try and help someone that's being affected from that side of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've got, it's like you've got to understand the dark arts to protect yourself from them.
Yeah, not even that. It's to protect the person that's having the problems and the issues.
Yeah, that'd be the extension of yourself, sort of thing.
I didn't get too heavily into it, but just enough to be able to, right, this is what I know and this is what I'm going to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taken me down a pathway that I never thought that I would go, and all the while still working from the churches. I mean, the church circuit was, my time on the church circuit was fantastic. I met some fantastic people along the way, learnt so much, got to see so many gorgeous churches in and around West London. That was my town, was like West London, and that's what I did, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could go back, I would do it all over again. It was fantastic.
Excellent. When you do your investigating, does your mediumship clash with your investigator side?
Right. So you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you now. I do not use mediumship on investigations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do to a degree, but not in the way that you think. Because this is my personal belief, and Dan is the same. If we're going to do some filming for Striking Midnight, let's say, and we go into an area and we're just going to investigate it, there's no room for mediumship. How can you prove mediumship on film like that? You can't. So I go in with my investigator head, and what I will do is I will link in with my guide, and my guide will tell me, oh, if you go to the top floor and the room right at the end of the landing on the left hand side, sit in there, take as many pictures as you can, you'll get something. And I listen to my guides, you know, because they're helping me. Or they might say, or I might even get a link with whatever is haunting in there if it's interactive.
Yeah.
And you know, there'll be a conversation that I have privately will you show yourself? If I take some pictures, will you show yourself? Either they'll say yay or nay, or they'll tell me I'll think about it, or maybe at the end of the evening, if you get to the right room at the right time, I will show myself in a photograph. I've had that happen. There's no reason for me to do mediumship just to entertain people like that.
Yeah.
If I go to an event and I've paid for my ticket and I've gone in with Dan and we just want to investigate the place, I don't want to be standing there doing mediumship for a group of people just to entertain them. Yeah. Does that make sense? It's like people say, so the spirits are not performing monkeys, and neither am I. Do you know what I mean? So when I will use mediumship is when I'm going into these private homes and have people that actually do need my help. That's when my mediumship comes out. That's when I'll be deadly serious and this, and it might happen over a period of times. Like I'm backwards and forwards from this house 3 or 4 times, just to see. One, I've got to be able to speak to the spirit involved, and a lot of times they run and hide when they see me coming anyway, because the only way I can describe it is I shine. Like The Shining, he talks about the shine.
Okay,
yeah, and the spirit sees you coming, and they know what your intent is before you even approach the building, so they've gone. So it might take a couple of tries before I can even get what it is in the house. How are we going to remove it? Or is it that they just want me to give a message, or they want me to do one last thing for them so they can cross over and be at peace themselves? Because you can't get rid of a ghost. You can't banish a ghost. You can't send spirit into the light and then they've gone. It's a bit more involved than that, contrary to belief. So it's a long process. So
I should imagine if there are such things as spirits, they're just it's almost like they're always shy in a way, and you go there a few times and they actually start getting to know you a bit, and then that's when they become more.
Do you know what my pet peeve is, Paul? And a lot of investigators are guilty of doing this. I see it. Everyone does it. And it really annoys me. And I blame Most Haunted for this, because an investigator will walk in a room and they will say, my name is Richard, or my name is Paul, or my name is Viv. Can you step forward and tell me what your name is?
Mm.
And I do my nut, because if you met somebody who was living and you shook their hand, or, you know, you went to shake their hand, you wouldn't say, can you step forward and tell me what your name is? You'd be saying, hello, how do you do? My name's Vivien. And I go, oh, hi, my name's Richard.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
nice to meet you.
that's almost like the premise that they're hiding from you or in the shadows somewhere.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
No, you don't, do you?
As a spirit, or as somebody who has departed from your mortal life, if somebody was to say that to me when I'm in spirit, can you step forward and tell me what your name is? If I had enough energy, if I was that strong with my energy in the spirit world, I tell you, I'd be slapping that person around the face. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
ask me properly, and then I might, you know.
Yeah, and you know that's even assuming that they do exist.
Well, yeah.
They might not even exist in the conventional way that we're thinking.
No, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And I mean, I've often said that to me, a spirit could just be a ball of energy.
They do. I believe that they do. They are a big. See, when I think we contain energy. Okay, that's our soul. People talk about souls, and our soul is our mass of energy that we accumulate as we go through life.
Yeah.
You know, and when we die, that energy, your soul, has to go somewhere, and our soul then goes to join the master energy, which is a massive ball of energy, bigger than you can comprehend. We go up to join that energy and become part of that, and that's what I think is heaven. Okay,
absolutely. I've often said that as well about, you know, when someone says about God, you know, you think about a little man on a cloud?
No,
little man, or I particularly believe it's energy.
Yeah.
And as you said, when we die, our soul will go up and join that collective.
Yeah, and I think that what people forget when they talk about God created the earth. Yes, God did create the earth, but not in the way that you think he did. It wasn't a man sitting on a cloud with a stick and just, I don't know.
It's a chemistry set.
It was all to do with energy, with energy form, and that's how, you know, and it's all part of that. It gets very political and complicated. But
no, I mean, at the end of the day, that makes perfect sense, because even the Big Bang was caused by energy.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah.
So
but you got these people that believe, you know, they've got their faiths, and I don't care what your faith is. I don't care what you believe in. You could believe in the Loch Ness monster, or the aliens from Mars, or the Martians, as we used to call them. You can believe them being the where we come from. I don't care. So long as you have your faith and you believe in that, and you're happy, and you do not hurt anybody else, I will accept you. You know, I don't care who you are.
Well, that's it. I mean, when people go on about God, whether it's God or whether it's Allah, or I don't know, loads of other versions out there, you know, it's just labeling a ball of energy.
Yeah. Well, I come from my father is a Sikh, as you know. My mum's English.
Yeah.
And from the Sikh side of the family, and being out in India, which is where and how I learned to meditate as a child. And that was only because my grandfather wanted peace and quiet, so he taught all the grandchildren how to sit quietly and meditate. So I never followed the Sikh religion, the Punjabi, the Hindis, whatever. I didn't follow any of that, but I'd gladly walk in one of their temples, the Gurdwaras, sit down quietly and meditate while they're going on about whatever they want to go on about. I'll sit and meditate and have a nice Indian meal when we're finished at the end of it, because they feed you in them temples, you know. It's a good place to go and get a curry.
Yeah.
I can just imagine.
It is brilliant.
Yeah, I do understand, and I do like the subject of religion, but there is so many similarities across the board.
Yeah,
and it is just like they're labeling their god, but at the end of the day, I still see the gods as a ball of energy.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you, Paul.
I mean, even down to the whole Romans and the Greeks, when they have different gods for different things, and it's very reminiscent of the elementals.
Yeah.
And again, their energy.
Yeah.
You know, and it all ties in. It's just all at different energies. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Richard, don't tell anyone that I agree with Paul.
No, and it's strictly between us three.
Yeah.
Right, we've spoken about your sort of mediumship and how you sort of like progressed into sort of like paranormal investigation and stuff. But when I've been out with you, which has been a couple of times now,
yes,
you quite like your equipment as well, don't you?
I do, because I like people to see it rather than me just know it and see it myself through the third eye, or, you know, with my eye or whatever. I like to share that experience with others that can't see the same way as me. You know, I went out recently and bought, believe it or not, Richard, I bought, well, you've seen it, I bought the SLS camera.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I know that when we was in, where did we go? Kelvedon Hatch.
Kelvedon Hatch, yeah.
We went to Kelvedon Hatch, and I think it was one of the first times I got the SLS camera out, and it was Kerry's other half's son come along, and it was nice to be able to put that in his hand, let him use it and gain from it, because he actually saw something on that SLS camera, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was quite taken with it. Yeah.
So
that wasn't Kerry's son. I think that was Daryl's son.
Daryl's son, that's it.
Yeah.
Daryl's son. Yeah, and he saw the SLS, something on the SLS, and from that point onwards, it was like he got really interested in the paranormal, to the point where I think his dad build one at the end for him?
They did start to, but I think that sort of got distracted. So it hasn't actually been made yet.
Okay, but you know, if I can actually show somebody else, or give them, like if somebody come into a spiritualist church and he was a non-believer, if I could give him the messages that he came to hear that I couldn't possibly know, so it's come through spirit, their loved ones, not me, their loved ones are telling me, oh, his favourite pair of underpants are white with red spots, and I gave him that, and he's like, how could you know that? Sort of thing. You know, proof, actual proof. I mean, but he's not getting the visual proof, he's getting what I call the verbal proof that I actually really am talking to his nan, sort of thing. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, look through this, if you look through this, I mean, Stickman is a bit different, but if I could get him to take pictures, or he can actually experience for himself, that would be the only validation that he would need to be able to believe, yes, when we've finished here on this earth plane, this is not the end, you know, to give that hope to that person.
Yeah. I must admit, I think when we was at Kelvedon Hatch, I think there was a photograph taken by a Polaroid camera, and in that picture was a shadow figure in the background, but you can see like a little bit of a white V in his collar, and I've actually seen a picture of who this person is supposed to be,
right,
and it's very, very accurate.
Yeah,
even down to the thing that he was wearing in the picture. You know, you see that. But again, you know, that wasn't picked up on an SLS. That was, as I said, Polaroid camera. Yeah, and it wasn't a digital one, which I you know, if it was digital, it could have been anything. But with the Polaroid, it's taken there and then, isn't it? So
Do you know what, Paul? I was with you about 10 years ago.
Yep.
Might be a bit longer. And
Possibly.
it was one of your events I came on, and I got a photo that I am so proud of. And I think it's one of the very few. Like, people will always say to me, oh, you don't get, and I'm not being racist now, listeners, so please don't have a go at me, just listen. You don't get pictures of spirits of black people, or you don't get spirits of pictures of Indians, or you don't get pictures of, anything of colour, right?
Mm.
And somebody had said that to me, and I said, actually, wait there. And I go my phone and I pull up this picture, and I was on your event, Paul, in one of Fort Horsted.
Yep, I remember that event very
I
clearly.
took a photograph of a Sikh man in his turban, in his military uniform, sitting, looking at me.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest, one of the better full-bodied apparitions. I say full-bodied, he's actually sitting down. You don't see his knees or his feet because it was obscured. But it was one of the best pictures.
Could you see the colour of him?
You could see his beard, the colour of his beard, and the colour of his turban. You could see his dress uniform jacket. And I've subsequently gone and done a little bit of research through my family to find that the uniform hadn't changed from the days that my granddad served in the army. It was the same. But to see the beard and the moustache, which is very reminiscent of a Sikh man with his turban, he had his turban on, his military turban, sitting there at Fort Horsted. And I approached them at Fort Horsted to ask them, did any Indian military personnel attend Fort Horsted? And there were records that they actually were there. They fought with the British Army, or under the British Army. So, it was quite interesting. And to me, again, this was another thing that I looked into. Why are all these apparitions or shadow figures reminiscent of Western people? And when these photographs, I've subsequently got West African people and Indian people and in turbans, all different races that I'm now capturing, which I'm so thrilled about, the fact that they've allowed me to do that.
Yeah,
to prove it.
are you only picking out the I'll say foreign spirits because of their features as opposed to the colour of their skin?
Well, it's more like you could tell that this man was Indian by looking at him.
You said by looking at him you could see the beard and the turban.
Yeah.
If he had a shave that day and taken off his turban, would you have then gone, well, that's an Indian soldier?
Well, I've actually got another picture of a West Indian man that was taken, and you can actually see the colour of his skin.
Okay.
Because he's got his mouth open and he's laughing. You know how they have that sort of pink tinge on the lip and that. You can see that quite clearly. Beautiful looking man. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's sort of the thing. That's the sort of thing I was getting at, whether or not it was actually just because you see the guy in the turban, you knew.
I mean, I laugh and I joke about these women that fall in love with these ghosts, but this coloured fella that I took the picture of, I can see why people would. He was a dish.
You missed out there, didn't you?
I know. A few years too late, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I've also been to Kelvin and Hatch with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
That there are quite a few times. Have you ever picked up on anything in there?
Yes. There was a photograph. It's a bit weird, this one, because a photograph was taken of a little girl floating in midair where the bunk beds were.
Okay.
But when you look at the picture of the girl, half of her head is gone. It's like it's been cut. But the line is so sharp, like somebody's taken a sword and gone slit. It has it has no reason to be there, because we know that that place is not haunted by a little girl. We know that.
Yeah.
Could it have been something else, elemental or something like that? I don't know. I don't think that particular photo is showing you what the actual haunting is in that place. I think that was something that somebody brought in with them.
I was going to say, I think a majority of the spirits in Kelvin Hatch is ones that people brought with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced some unknown incidents where we've dealt with what we believe was a elemental.
Right.
And
Okay.
I personally think it's trapped in there because it's a lead-lined bunker.
Shall I tell you something, Paul? Right, and this might surprise you, might shock you.
Nothing shocks me with you.
Yeah. One of Dan's friends knew the guy, the guy at Kelvin Hatch. Oh God, what's his name?
Mike Parrish.
Parrish, that's it.
Yeah.
Knew him personally and used to go in there and visit him during the day. And he went in there. It was nearby, so he thought he'd pop in. He had his dog with him, and he decided he would go in and pop in and see his mate. But the dog was okay until it got to the tunnel where the tunnel where you enter. You know which side I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The dog wouldn't go in. It just stopped. Point blank refused to go in. And the dog was cowering and shaking and crying and everything. He's going, what's going on? Come on, we're going in here. And the dog refused to go in. He ended up picking up the dog in his arms and carrying it in. And when he did, that dog died in his arms. It died of fright. The dog was perfectly healthy, nothing wrong with it. But there was something in Kelvin Hatch that frightened the dog that much that it actually killed him. Died of fright.
Right.
So I know, and I was there with Kerry, and we had an experience where we thought we felt a dog walking amongst our legs, like brushing up against us. And I didn't know the story about this guy and his dog, where the dog died as he was walking in through the tunnel with it. I didn't know about that story until Dan had told me, and I thought, oh God, Jesus. Me and Kerry have actually experienced that dog, you know. It was quite amazing. Me and Kerry were sort of sitting back and just sort of having a 5-minute chill while other people were investigating, and we both had that same experience. So yeah. Could that dog be one of the entities now haunting Kelvin Hatch? Who knows?
Well, it's very possible. I have been told there's a spirit of a cat there as well.
Yeah.
So maybe the dog's chasing the cat.
Yeah, they're probably having the right merry old time chasing each other around that. Up and down those stairs.
A fascinating place. I think I've had my fill of Kelvin Hatch though now, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been there quite a few times now.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, it's probably the place I've been the most. Yeah.
We have got some good ones coming up.
Oh yes, I know you're coming away with me at the end of the year, aren't you, Paul? I'm dragging Paul out.
Oh yeah, where are you taking him?
We're going on a weekend investigation.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
2 locations.
A full. I'm going to call it the full dirty weekend, because we will get deep down and dirty, but not in the way that you think.
Well, I don't know. In one of the locations, you might, because it's quite famous for that, isn't it?
Yeah, dirty and dusty.
Yeah.
Dirty and dusty. Well, both locations are dirty and dusty, but.
Well, the locations we're talking about are Woodchester Mansion and the Ancient Ram Inn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh right, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the Ancient Ram Inn before. I've just never been to the
Woodchester.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to that.
They're not that far apart, I don't think.
No.
No, we need to sort out the details for that, Viv.
Oh, we will. Don't worry.
And we're doing the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre as well.
Yes, I've never ever been. I want to see what the hype is about.
I enjoy it there.
I've never ever been.
Yeah.
I've never met Neil Packer either. He seems like a nice fella, but I've never met him.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, quite a few people like him, except the armchair warriors.
Right, okay.
He gets a lot of grief from them.
Oh,
he's got a good support network.
That's the thing in the paranormal. If anybody gets ahead or is making groundbreaking news, they become public enemy number one.
Yeah.
You know, you can't enjoy your hobby because a lot of it, that is what it is. It starts as a hobby. You can't just go out and enjoy your hobby. There is someone always there to say, I'm bigger and better than you, don't know what you're talking about. We're all in it to learn. And even from these people that come from nowhere, the beginners, we can learn from them as well. You know,
Absolutely.
I think people are too harsh. And you know what really gets my goat is paranormal investigations and urbex explorers are two separate things, and they always have been right the way through time. It's not something new. I mean, these urbex explorers, we do have a lot to thank them for, believe it or not, because sometimes they're going into these places and finding these forgotten treasures that people didn't know about. You know, when I say forgotten treasures, I'm talking about the actual buildings themselves. Not all of them go in and start fires. Not all of them go in.
I'd say I think a lot of especially the urbex people, it's a minority that are the ones that break in, and they're the ones I don't like.
But you know, those ones.
But you get those in ghost hunting as well. So
yeah, but you know, those ones breaking in to do that could be the homeless. I've been in places where I've seen homeless people break in just so they've got somewhere to sleep overnight.
Yeah, but they're not urbex exploring, though, are they?
No, but they are people that break into a property so they've got somewhere dry to sleep for the night. I've seen that. I've also seen these people break in to do drugs, kids breaking in just to start fires. I've actually, a member of my family had a building that was grade 2 listed, and it was falling apart. And because of the laws in England now, you have to spend so much money you can't just do it up or patch that up or just make it good. It's more involved than that, and he couldn't afford to do it. So rather than spend the money in doing it up, he boarded it up, let it go to rack and ruin. He left it for 15 years. So the kids had got in, set it on fire, deliberately set it on fire. They'd done this, that and the other to it. And when he went 15 years later, it's literally nothing left. And he then was granted permission to set the bulldozers in. And he built, I think it was 4 houses on that property.
Yeah.
And sold it. And that's what a lot of people are doing. These people that are buying up these properties that can't afford that, they're not buying it for the building, they're buying it for the land value.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. So, and they were saying, like, you know, I said to him, people are breaking into your property. He said, I don't care. That's what my uncle said, I don't care. You know, you have to make it good. You have to put up fences. There are certain guidelines you have to follow. And you have to put up a sign. Trespassers will be prosecuted, but they won't be because he can't be bothered. He's just interested in the land value. That's all it was.
I prefer the sign, trespassers will be shot, survivors will be shot again.
Oh, don't. I live, you know where I live, there's a lot of farmland here.
Yeah.
And they use these, it's on a timer where a gun it sounds like a gun going off. It's not. It's a salt gun, isn't it, that they use to scare the birds.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You could be walking across the field quite legally, walking your dog, and you hear this bang right next to you and you shit yourself. It's hilarious.
Yeah, my cousin doesn't live too far away from you. Next street over, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But we'll talk about that later anyway.
We'll have to meet up and do tea and get the dirt on you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. No dirt on me. Anyway, on that note, we need to have a quick break. So join us after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. If there's nothing me and my friends enjoy more here on the other side, it is to sit back and relax and listen to the Paranormal Concept Show, right here on the PAUK Radio Network. Broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
Hello and welcome back to the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the PAUK Radio Network. As you heard, we were joined by Vivien Powell. Vivien Viv.
In the first, to most things.
Yeah, absolutely. In the first half. And yeah, we talked about quite a bit. But I do know that you said you was going back to the US quite soon. And you're down for a few conventions, aren't you, as a guest speaker?
I am. I'm appearing at the Oregon Ghost Conference.
Ooh.
Last year I was there, I appeared at the Paranormal, they call it the Paranormal Pub.
Okay.
The Underworld or something. I did a talk there.
Yeah.
What else did I do? Yeah, I think this time around it's just the Oregon Ghost Conference. I'm there doing a demonstration and also giving a class with William Becker.
Awesome. What class are you doing?
It's how to connect with your ancients or something like that we're doing together. So it is like a form of mediumship, but we're taking it back further with ancients and that sort of thing.
That'd be quite interesting, actually.
That sounds pretty cool, that does.
Yeah.
Be interested to see where you will end up with that, doing that.
Yeah, you'll have to record a session, like the talk, so we can have a listen later.
Maybe.
Or get us through Skype. So we can sit in.
Skype us in. Oh, dear. Now, Viv, let's face it, you've been to... How many locations do you reckon you've visited throughout your time doing your paranormal investigation / ghost hunting?
Too many to mention. There's been countless in the UK, abroad, America, India, Egypt, Holland, France. There's just been too many to mention.
Yeah. So, what stands out? What are your sort of like top three, if you can sort of like whittle it down to that?
My top of the tree, without a shadow of a doubt, with my hand on my heart, is the Tower of London.
Right, because you were fortunate enough to investigate that, weren't you?
Yeah. So that would be my number one. My second would be Alcatraz.
Right.
Alcatraz has a lot of history to it that people don't realise. I think it was just a prison, but it's also the indigenous people had that as well for a while. So it's got many multi-layers to it. So Alcatraz, absolutely fascinating. That would be my second. And my third would be the pyramids of Egypt in Giza.
Okay.
Oh, right. I wasn't expecting that, yeah. How did that investigation sort of go? Or was that more of a spiritual sort of a journey when you done the pyramids?
I was lucky enough to be able to go back to the Great Pyramid at night when all the tourists have been and gone and done their thing. I was given access to the Great Pyramid, and you go in halfway up, so it's not going down to go under and go up. And to have my walk through that and my talk there with the people that I was with, a very, very small select number of people was in there when we did that. And the experiences I had in there, maybe because we were doing it at night and it was a bit sort of spooky, I don't know. But I do feel very connected to Egypt anyway. I've got family out there, you know, and I lived out there for a while, and I've seen and done things that people could only ever wish for, you know. But to do that and be invited to do it was out of this world, and I can't even begin to tell you the connections that I got with that place. The Great Pyramid, the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were they were burial tombs, weren't they?
They were, and it was all to do with the sun god and the position right next to the Nile, because the Nile River used to be right up on top of it. It's not anymore. It was all to do with trade and the hustle and bustle of the city that was there at the time, and then you have the Temple of the Sphinx there, and also just an amazing place. I love Egypt anyway.
What do you think?
Nice.
Because I mean, there are a lot of theories about what the pyramids actually are and what they were used for. What do you think they were?
It's a form of
designed?
temple.
Okay, so you think it's like a religious place of worship?
Yes, because all the burials of all the kings and queens and everything initially started in Saqqara. They weren't actually in where you see these pyramids, and those pyramids that are left weren't the only pyramids. There were quite a lot of them. I mean, in the distance you'll see them as a mound of rubble now, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there that people realise. And the other place I found fascinating is a place called the City of the Dead in Cairo.
Yeah.
You're going to laugh at me now. And what that is a cemetery. And it's not an old ancient cemetery. It's quite a modern cemetery. And because they were running out of space to build homes, the poorer people moved onto this cemetery and built their little houses and shacks. It started off as a shack at first, on top of the tomb of the graves, and then they expanded on that and built housing. And there was that many people living in this cemetery that they had to give them running water and electricity in the end. And it's now known as the City of the Dead because they live on top of the graves.
Okay.
Yeah, an amazing place. Absolutely phenomenal. And can you imagine the spirit activity in those houses?
Must
Can
be
you
off the
imagine
scale.
it? Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely fantastic.
What locations have you visited in India as an investigation?
Not as an investigation as such, but I have been in the presidential palace in India. I've been lucky enough to do that and had a weird experience in there as a child. I've been at the Red Fort in India, which was owned by the British at the time. The Taj Mahal is a bit of a horrible place. It was dirty when I went there, and I had a bit of an experience over there. So I've been not to the crowded touristy places. I've been to other places as well, like little gurdwaras and temples and things like that. I've had experiences. One of the most haunted places, believe it or not, over there that I visited was the zoo in Delhi.
Okay.
Because out there, I don't know why people do it, but they throw themselves over the wall and into the tiger pit, and the tigers do carry people off, or they have been known to carry people off. I think there's one or two you can watch on YouTube if that's what you want to watch, but I wouldn't recommend it. But there's been a lot of people that have lost their lives to those animals over there, and it's not great, but it is very haunted.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you don't hear too many stories coming out of like India, that continent and stuff like that. Because most paranormal, when you talk about paranormal especially on social media, it just tends to be UK, America, and parts of Europe. But it's almost like the rest of the world don't exist in the paranormal. It's like they must do.
But in India, they used what they call cheap labour. I mean, it's all changed now over the years. They used to use a lot of cheap labour to try and build tower blocks and things like that, like flats for people to live in. And a lot of people died in construction of some of these places where people just take for granted and go and live these days. The Indian Railway, oh my God, the amount of people that have been killed on the railways of India, and that's just boarding a train. You know, I don't know if you've seen the pictures where people actually will sit on the top of trains.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so much when it comes to paranormal because it's so densely populated. India is, in parts of India, there is more energy, and it's such a spiritual place as well. Depending on what parts of India you're going to go to, it is a hive of activity. If you go looking for it, you will definitely find it.
What about the paranormal investigators? Are there as many as there are in the UK?
I've seen quite a few. I've seen quite a few through YouTube and some of my pages on Facebook. There's an Indian paranormal team that are always posting stuff on. I don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing it, but they seem to be having a good time. So why not, eh?
Yeah.
But there are. It's getting more and more popular because Hinduism, Sikhism, they all believe in an afterlife, and you know, some of the youngsters coming through today, they want to investigate that, and they are picking up on what the Western world is doing, and they're following suit.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether or not it is perceived more of as a religious thing than a paranormal thing.
No, it's paranormal. I think in the more stricter places in the Muslim countries like Egypt, it's something that would be frowned upon. You know, so there's that sort of thing that you have to. It depends where you are.
Yeah.
And your intentions for doing it. I know a lot of Muslim people wouldn't do it, wouldn't get involved in it because they see it as wrong. But each to their own.
Yeah, I would say there's people like that in the UK as well.
Yeah.
So you've been to Alcatraz. How was that?
I've been there twice.
Oh, right.
So
once wasn't that good enough?
Yeah. No, well, you'd have to, because you go round it, and it's like how can I explain it? It's like it feels so surreal when you come off the rock and you're back in your hotel room and doing what you're doing. You do have to go back again because it's like, did I really see that? Did I really witness that? No, I have to go back and double check. You know, it was that kind of scenario. So yeah, I have been twice. Thoroughly love that place. I even met an old bank robber that served time in Alcatraz when I went back the second time. He was there signing his books. He'd written his life story about being knocked up in Alcatraz. And so I just happened to get in the queue. I don't know what I was in the queue for. And I had this book shoved in my hand, and then this guy was signing it for me. Okay, fine. It's quite interesting. His books are very, very interesting to read.
Yeah, because you're sort of very active here in the UK, and you're also you're one for pushing the envelope a bit, aren't you? You know, you do try and sort of get away from the traditional sort of paranormal investigation and adding your own twist to it. And
that's Paul's fault.
Oh, right.
No, nothing to do with me.
If you're talking about the telephone experiment, that was Paul's fault, because the first thing he says to me, right, people that don't know, I know Paul very well. I've known him for about 11 years, 12 years now. And Paul is the sort of person that says to me, Vivien, now don't forget to switch your phone on flight mode. And I looked at him as if to say, yeah, what? He says, you got to switch your phone on flight mode because it will interfere with your equipment. And so my response was, Paul, I'm about to telephone the dead. So no, I can't switch it on flight mode. And he went, what the bloody hell are you talking about? I said, right, give me your phone. He said, what are you doing? He said, that's a brand new phone. I've only just got it. So I rang Paul's phone. We put it on speakerphone. And I said, well, I need to put your phone upstairs. He went, you can sod off with that. He said, I've only just got this phone. He said, put yours upstairs. So I did. And that's how that experiment came about that night, telephoning the dead. And what we got, we just blew our heads away.
It did. It was, yeah.
And it's all because Paul said to me, don't forget to put your phone on flight mode. It was taking the mickey out of me. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, it was very
tongue in cheek, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Sort of backwards and forward, bit of banter between us both. Ended up in a mind-blowing experiment that's never ever been replicated.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually tried to replicate it a little while after Paul, didn't we? We done it at
Ruffin Towers, wasn't it?
Ruffin Tower, yeah. There's sort of mixed results we got on that, but you know, it's certainly an interesting one.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we got a TV in the background, somebody watching TV, turning the channels over. And when I was asking this guy, or spirit guy, Bob, to turn the TV down so I could hear him, he did it on cue.
Yeah.
It was just, I cannot, still to this day, I cannot get my head around what we did that night.
No, I actually contacted Samsung. And
Did you?
I asked them about the technical, if there was anything that could interfere with the signal. I explained what went on, and the guy was absolutely fascinated by it. And he was like, "No, there's no way that could have been replicated without a lot of equipment. So
No,
if it was faked, you would have had to spend millions and billions just on equipment to interfere with that signal." And no one, we ain't got that sort of cash on us.
No, I mean, you had the Samsung phone, and I had the Apple phone, didn't I, at the time?
Yeah, but
you still got that phone, Paul?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I still got my Apple. We should try and just. Oh no, because I haven't got a phone line to it now. Not unless I put a pay-as-you-go SIM card in it.
Yeah.
See if we could replicate it with those same phones.
Yeah,
when we get together.
That'd be good. I mean, when we had that character Bob come through, he wasn't very clear, and it was very more static in blocks, if that makes sense. But it was at the times when you asked him things. So whether or not that was a spirit talking through the phone, I'm not sure of.
No.
What impressed me more was the fact that a little bit earlier you done, I think it was a voice box experiment, and you got the date 2010 come through.
That's right, yeah, in that same room.
Yeah, and then a bit later we done the phone experiment, and after we done the event and we come home, I actually played that to our parapsychologist, and he identified the film as Night of the Demon.
Was it?
Yeah, and it was last on air in 2010.
Wow. Does he know what the Western was? There was a Western and a war film, and then that other film.
He just identified the Night of the Demon. Okay. And that was last aired on 2010 on terrestrial TV.
On terrestrial TV, yeah. BBC2, I believe it was, on a...
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was flicking through the channels. You could hear it so clearly.
Absolutely, but the fact that you got the 2010, that's when it was last on air, and I asked someone that wasn't actually there, and he didn't know about the 2010 until, and he identified that. But I think what impressed me more was when we moved the phone to next door in the other cottage.
Oh, yeah.
And we got that little girl, and we were singing nursery rhymes, but we was missing out words.
And she was filling the gaps.
And she was filling the gaps in, and it was as clear as anything.
Yeah, it was a good night for that phone.
It was.
That telephone experiment. I mean, I'm blown away with Bob. The way he was telling me his name was Bob, and he kept saying, didn't he?
He did.
It sounded like that he had a learning difficulty or something, like he would have been cared for or had a carer.
Yeah, that's possible.
I got that kind of feeling with it, the way he was talking to me.
Yeah.
So could that place been used as a care home at one point? Who knows? I don't know.
Very possible, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. But no, that was a good experiment.
So if people tell me, Richard, that I can't do something, I'll try and twist it.
Yeah.
So I can. Like somebody said to me, I was in Gresley Old Hall, and I had an ovulus, a spirit box, and then my voice recorder. And somebody said, why have you got all this equipment at once? You can't use it all three at once. I went, watch this. Oh, no, it wasn't a voice recorder. What was the third thing? I had something else. Was it, it might have been an app. I can't remember. But anyway, there was 3 items that I had. And they said, oh, you can't use all 3 at once. Why don't you put one down? I went, watch this. And on the stairs, I asked a question, and I was with a guy called Luke Riley at the time. And I called out to Spirit and I said, if there's somebody here, can you tell me what his name is? And I sort of pointed to Luke. And the response I got across all 3, it happened so quickly across all 3 items. Of course I can.
Right.
Like across, like of course on the Ovulus, I across something else, and can across the third thing I had. It was across all 3. The sentence came, of course I can.
That's excellent.
And I thought, you couldn't make this up even if you tried. And I had somebody that was with us that, did you film that? Did you get that? Oh no, I forgot to press record.
Oh, don't just hate you when that happens.
Yeah. But Luke was blown away. I was blown away, and the bloke with the camera was like, like couldn't believe what just happened. But yeah, it was good. If somebody tells me you can't, I find a way to prove you can.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And by using more than one piece of equipment, you're sort of backing it up as well, aren't you?
Validating what you're getting.
Yeah, which is good.
Yes, all sounds good in the end.
I try to pioneer new ideas. Like I know since doing that telephone experiment that's Cogna, a lot of teams are now using the same technique that me and Paul did that night. But I don't think they control it in the same way as Paul and I did. But,
no, because we tried it a couple of times, and each time we improved on it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean the control was like we had everyone in one room, and we placed these the phones, the other phone, in a different room away from people. You know, it has to be controlled if you're going to use that successfully, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we even used voice recorders, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, and we put a voice recorder up in the room where no one was with the phone, and you could hear my voice or Viv's voice through the phone, and no response on there. But we filmed the responses coming through on the other phone.
Yeah.
But we still got no response from upstairs. So whatever it was almost Richard, in the phone.
The funny thing was, at the end of that experiment, I said, does any volunteers want to go up into that room and retrieve my phone? And everybody had shit themselves, said, no, I'm not going up there on my own. Because we wanted someone to go up
already.
And just before we turned it off, we wanted someone to go up and just peer around the corner to see if they could actually witness anything. Nobody would leave the room.
Yeah.
No, we was enjoying it too much, talking to Bob.
Everyone was scared.
No, we were enjoying the conversation, Viv. That's what it was.
Yeah, right.
No, that was a good night. And,
so you said you've been to the Tower of London, and how did that come about? Because it's you can't get into the Tower.
No, if I tell you, I will have to kill you.
Oh right, it's one of those, is it?
It's one of those, but we did manage to do some investigating at the Tower of London as a team. Very privileged to do it, and the yeoman warder who, let's say, we became friendly with, wanted, because he couldn't believe what was happening that night, he wanted the footage, which we did give to him, and he was absolutely blown away by it. He did say that we had answered some questions that he was going to share with the other warders that are there that have had experiences, because they do a thing where is it the handing over of the keys?
Yes.
Some go on duty, then the others can go off and relax in their they've got flats, they've got their own housing within the walls of the Tower of London, and some of them are lucky enough to have like a little sort of one up, one down bit. It's like in a big square. That's the only way I can describe it. So they do have their private lodgings, if you like, but they've also experienced things that they can't explain, and they're military trained, you know, these guys and women, and they've had experiences. Some of them have been quite frightening, some of them they've chosen to ignore them, but they have spoken about it amongst themselves. And one of them was, there is a walkway. I don't know what the walkway is called, but what I can tell you is it's above where they house the, you know, the rooks, the birds, the ravens at the Tower of London.
Yeah.
It's above where they're, I call it their housing, their nesting places where they get put to bed. It's above that. There's a walkway that goes from one tower to another, and I know the other tower is called the Lancaster Tower. On that walkway, it has always been written that there was an apparition had been seen of someone walking across that walkway. And I think it was myself and my fellow investigator, Richard. We managed to take photographs of this apparition, his from a different angle to mine. And when we showed the yeoman warder, he went absolutely apeshit. He said, I actually hear that bloke walking across there most nights, and you managed to get a photo. I need those photographs. I need those photographs. You know, he got so excited about that. I believe, this is my opinion, that we caught an A-class EVP of a famous person that was tortured at the tower. Because I was calling out for this particular person because it was getting quite close to bonfire night when we were there. And so I was calling out to Guy Fawkes, but using his real first name. And the response that we got, and when that was played to him, he was having kittens because he had a fascination with Guy Fawkes and the torture of Guy Fawkes. And we went into great detail about how the history books, the historians won't talk about his torture and how gruesome that really was. They touch on it fleetingly and then move away from it. They don't actually go into the nitty-gritty of it. But the EVP that we got was in relation to his torture, and that was amazing, absolutely amazing. I'll never forget that. We also caught an EVP inside the chapel there that Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard were buried, but they were dug up and reburied. A lot of people don't know about that. But anyway, there was a thing that we caught in there that they were getting really excited about that as well. That wasn't caught by me. I think that was caught by, I don't know if that was Scott that got that one. It's quite an amazing place to go and investigate, not just as a paranormal investigator, but as a tourist going there and looking and learning about British history. I learned so much just from walking around there at night on my own. But I knew a lot about the place to start with anyway, because of growing up with that at school and going to the Tower of London and learning about history and learning about King Henry VIII chopping off his wives' heads, and the EVPs in the White Tower, or the Salt Tower as they call it, and looking at the graffiti on the walls through a torch. You know, it's just like mind-blowing. The only place that I found disappointing, which was surprising, was the Bloody Tower. Now, the Bloody Tower, you would have thought that that's where all the torture happened, and it actually wasn't. It wasn't there. It was somewhere else within the Tower of London, but they paint this up now for the tourists, and it was actually held. They used to hold prisoners in there, and it was rammed with lots of political prisoners and soldiers and God knows what else, and it was filthy and full of rats and horrible, and just like they were vermin themselves, but they were people. But yeah, I was honoured. I feel very honoured to have been able to do that, and they said I could go back, but you know, with everything that happened and was what was going on with COVID, and I'd never chased it up. But you never know, I might go back there. I might do. Hopefully, we'll see.
Please take me with you.
Everyone wants to come with me. It's like I'd have an army of people by the time I get there.
But I'm special.
Well, yeah, there is that. Very special.
Oh dear. No, that is one place I'd love to go. I've visited during the day, and it's just such an amazing place.
I mean, there's areas you can't go, you know, like in the middle of the Tower of London, you've got that central building where it has armory in there. You've got the, you know, where it houses the Queen's jewels, and that you're not allowed anywhere near those places because, I mean, to me, the armory would be the most valuable. Never mind about the Queen's jewels. It's the most valuable because it is so rich in history. It's priceless, but they have to protect that, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine because I wouldn't be interested in them bits anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ravens, they're boring. Once they go to bed, they've gone to bed, you know. So you don't even get to see the ravens or anything like that. You know they're there, but in pitch black you won't see them.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to leave, are they?
No. Well,
do they have their wings clipped?
They do. No, do they? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
They do. You know why the ravens can never leave the Tower of London? Shall I tell you the reason why?
Because they've had their wings clipped.
No.
It's something to do with the fall of the empire, isn't it, or something?
No, because the bones of the ravens and some of the animals were crushed up and used in the mortar to actually make, you know, with the bricks that actually built the tower itself.
Okay.
So if the ravens ever left, the whole building would fall down. That's what's meant by that.
Okay. I knew something would fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great place, though. It's a great place.
Absolutely. Is there any location that you've been to that you've investigated and it just scared you so much you'll never go back?
I had been to a place last year that scared the granny out of me. And it wasn't a building or in a particular building as such. It was outside. I went with Dan Winter, of all people. And you know what Dan's like. He thinks it's hilarious when I get scared. And I saw these 4 things that I've never, ever witnessed in all my life. They weren't shadow people, before you say. They looked like Harry Potter Dementors floating around.
All right.
One got very close to me and was grey in colour. I just caught it out your peripheral vision. Shot past me. It was that close to me. If I put my hand out, I could have touched it.
Yeah.
It was grey and it looked raggy. There was a funny smell with it. Not a horrible smell, but a funny smell, like a musty smell.
Right.
I saw 4 of them. As it got dark, they turned black. No face, no hands. Though it was hooded and it had arms.
Okay.
Right. I've been back since. I saw 4 of them. You know, there's more of them than there is of us. Called straight away. I don't know what they were. I've been back since twice.
They didn't have horses with them, did they?
They didn't, no. It wasn't them. I think we're getting close to understanding what they might be and why they're there. There is a backstory to it, and we think we know why a building may have been pulled down because of them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. We're still investigating the story behind it and what actually these things are. But I think we're getting closer to understanding more fully. We couldn't get them on camera. We couldn't get them on film. It was very, very weird because while I was trying to film them, it's like they stayed their distance. The minute I put a camera down, they started to move forward.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It is. I have never been so frightened in all my life, and it took me a long time to get over that.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And we are going back, me and Dan and I, at some point to see if we can make contact with them again.
Yeah.
Because we found them, you know, thinking back, yeah, they were more inquisitive of us, really. I was just shitting myself, excuse the phrase, but yeah.
You're going to take your wands with you.
Wands, yeah.
Yeah.
Cross, crucifixes, the Bible, holy water, all coming with me.
Practice your Patronus.
Was it the broom to ride on?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Practice
Nimbus,
your Patronus.
I'm taking my Nimbus 2000 for a quick getaway.
Yeah.
It was frightening. It really was frightening. And I've been in some weird places, but that.
So is it just because you didn't know what they were that frightened you, or were they threatening towards you in any way?
No, they were inquisitive. They came very close to us, but because I suppose when you see them, my first impression was I've just seen the Grim Reaper, but without his scythe.
Okay.
No, that was the first impression. And I said to Dan, I've just seen the Grim Reaper over it. He goes, nah, it's your imagination.
I think I'd say that.
It might be, yeah, it might be. Then when Dan saw one, and then he started getting a bit worried.
Oh dear.
And it was more like, you know, you said you thought you saw the Grim Reaper. Yeah, he goes, did it move very quickly, a distance very quickly? I went, yeah. And I just think I've seen one. See?
Again, you know, that could have been the power of suggestion.
No, there was 4 of them. I saw 4 of them.
Yeah, you see them, but then if you'd said to Dan afterwards, that's what I saw, and then he started seeing them.
Well, he was the one that explained it, like, because I'm saying, look, I'm seeing 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then he explained it about looking a bit like a Dementor from Harry Potter. I went, yeah, that's it. Without the face, without hands, without the scythe. Yeah, that's it. That's what I saw.
Dementor.
Yeah. Dementor.
Expecto Patronus.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh dear.
So are there any sort of places you're working on to get into? Is there sort of places you still want to visit?
There is a couple of, because we're so busy this year now. We're completely rammed all this year.
Literally, when we go to the Ram.
Yeah, but next year, I'm working on getting more obscure places that paranormal investigators don't know about.
Right.
I'm in talks with one. We're hoping to get abroad. Well, we're going abroad this year, but next year we're hoping to go abroad and do an investigation, maybe in France. We were invited to go to California to do the Omen House this year, so that's now happening next year instead. So we will be in California with David Oman next year, which is quite exciting. We'll be doing a few other places out in California when we do go. But for this year, we're heading out to Belgium. We're doing a First World War battlegrounds.
Right.
First and Second World War. I think it was mainly German. There's German dugouts and other bits and pieces there that we'll be looking at. We're doing that in September, but we're also going to visit Arnhem because we've got a friend in Arnhem in Holland. So we'll be looking at Arnhem as well. So we're going there as well. Dan was supposed to have been coming with me to America to do the conference, but instead it will just be me. We were going to go off and maybe do a bit of Bigfooting together. So it'll be me, Dan and William, but it will just be me and William that does that. So that will be the only trips abroad for this year. But we've got tons coming up for filming for Striking Midnight on YouTube. Plus, I'm still very active with Ghost Quest, and one of their episodes has just dropped from an investigation that we did last month. And I think that they're in the Ancient Ram that gets dropped on YouTube later this month. So, yeah, I'm going to be away when they go to the Ancient Ram. So it's a shame, isn't it?
Well, that's all right. We'll go to the Ancient Ram and do it properly.
I know. But yeah, we got so much coming in this year. I don't even know where to turn, to be honest. I don't know which way is up, and so I just tackle one at a time.
Yeah.
We don't really sort of advertise where we're going before we go because we don't want lots of people turning up. Sometimes we do some outside areas as well that people don't know about, which we tend to keep a bit quiet.
Yeah, I think there's a castle not far. Well, I suppose it's probably about an hour or two away from you. It's called Baconsthorpe Castle.
Right.
That's a nice one. Me and Richard went
I
there.
do like Baconsthorpe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple of times now.
Yeah, it's outside, and you can just walk up to it at night and get access. It's a really nice location.
There's a castle that Dan and I say castle, it's not castle, but we'll call it a castle just for the sake of it. There's a castle that Dan and I have visited, and we have been there before in the past in the summer, and I've watched the big cats walk past us quite close.
Okay.
So, yeah, you know, it is haunted anyway, but to see the big cats just walk past, I mean, they're lynx of some sort, you know.
Yeah.
But to physically see them, it's such a good treat. It's such a treat. We forget about ghost hunting then, and we just want to see the animals, you know.
That's it. Yeah. You've also investigated Castle Rising.
I have many times. Yeah.
What's that like to investigate?
Well, some nights are good nights. Some nights are very flat nights. I've done it. That was literally on my doorstep, so I used to do that quite a lot. And of course, Norman, who was the custodian there, he was a very good friend of mine, still is, very good friend of mine. And so we do it just for something to do some nights, you know. And you know, some nights you could get a lot of activity, and some nights you get nothing. Some nights you'll get it inside the main fortified house, and other times it'll all be outside. So yeah, that's it's a great place to investigate, but it's a weird one. We've even got stuff outside on the street outside of the castle, you know, the ghost of a dog, little Scotty dog, little terrier. That was a good.
I know you and Richard actually. You went dowsing around the castle, didn't you?
Yeah, we've done a bit of dowsing around there. Yeah, I think that's after I banged my head.
Do you know what? I was impressed with that, Richard, because they had a problem with an elemental haunting there that had never been got rid of, but it was sort of quietened down.
That's right. We managed to track it down to the church, or I did, using dowsing, and we tracked it down to the ruins. It was just like a floor plan of the old chapel for the castle.
Yeah. And you know what, Richard, and I didn't tell you, and I can't remember whether I did tell you or not, but there's a major ley line that runs through that place as well.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah, because it is a sort of, you know, it's built on a unusual high piece of ground, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and that chapel is in honour of St. Felix as well. So a lot of people don't know about St. Felix, but apparently he came to Castle Rising because he rode on the backs of two beavers that took him across the lakes, the Great Lakes. He rode on the back of, stood on the back of two beavers, and that's how he got to Castle Rising. Apparently, the myth says.
I suppose that's a bit like Captain Jack Sparrow on the back of a turtle.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
I mean, the apparitions that are caught there are out of this world.
Yeah. It was really windy, I think, when we went on it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it was blowy a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you pick up anything like spiritual with mediumship when you was there?
At Castle Rising,
Yeah.
I'm a bit too frightened to do all of that there because for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One, I am frightened of Isabella herself. Even though she's dead, and you say, "Oh, don't be frightened of the dead. They can't hurt you." Actually, that's not true. They can. She comes across as being quite a. How can I put it? She's a forceful woman.
Right. Okay.
You know, she's even just being around her, the air about her is like, don't mess with her, sort of. You know, when you get that, the mother-in-law, if you used to meet the mother, that kind of, don't mess with her because she'll have my guts for garters, that kind of feeling. So straight away you get that with her. She comes in, when you hear her come in, the skirt, you'll hear her skirts before you'll hear or see her. The skirts are very heavy. Sounds like a curtain material. It's very heavy.
Yeah.
And you'll hear the swish of her skirts as she moves through the corridors. And then you get the sweet smell of lilac, the lilac smell.
Okay.
Right.
When she's in those rooms. That happened, and the photographs were taken by Andy Radley. And you got a full apparition of her in the full length of her. You see her face, her features, her hands, the way she places her hands, her actual outfit she's got on, to the belt round her middle. And next to her on the floor, there were 2 Irish wolfhounds. They're very large, gangly looking type dogs. But it was, and has been recorded that she did like her Irish wolfhounds.
Yeah. Have you still got these photographs?
I have got copies of those photographs of the original. I have got them.
Okay, it's because when we put the show out, would you be able to send them over so we can show people?
Those photographs weren't taken by me.
Oh, okay.
So I have got pictures of the original, but I have got some other pictures of Castle Rising, and I can always speak to Norman and get some others as well that he holds. So I can get some pictures for you if you want them.
Yeah, because like once a week we do like a location of the week sort of thing.
Okay.
So it'd be nice that when the show goes out to put that out as one of the locations of the week.
Okay, I'll get some other. There's a picture that Norman holds of a knight on his horse. I'll try and get that picture and.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
It's taken, Richard. One for you.
Taken out by the gatehouse. That picture was. So I'll speak to Norman and see if I can get hold of it.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And we could post that out with the show.
Yeah, along with all the other weekly tidbits we do on our Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could send you loads of pictures, but we're there forever.
So what got you into the podcasting side of things? Because I know you do your podcast, don't you?
Well, there was a lot of negativity. I mean, it's been going now. I think in June it'll be 2 years old.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of negativity on social media at that point. So I wanted to sort of do something to bring a bit of sort of, not entertainment, I wouldn't call that, a bit of sort of joyness to people, something a bit different. And I think the first person I had on the show was, what's his name? John Blackburn.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely person, and also a pioneer of the paranormal in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
And we had such a lovely chat, and I really enjoyed it. I thought, no, I'm going to continue to do this. And then William joined me, so I do it here, and William does it sort of stateside as well.
Yeah.
And it's sort of growing a little bit from there. Then a year into it, Dan joined me. I said, like, Dan, you want your own show? And he went, oh, no, I'll come on with you as a co-host. And he's never left. I keep trying to get him to leave and have your own show, but he won't take it.
You've got a third person now joining you as a co-host, haven't you?
We're training up Jamie. He's a part of Striking Midnight. He's such a lovely fella. But we're training him up on gently on the Things Network. It's not the Simply Spooky Network. It's on the Things Network. And we don't really have guests on the Things Network. We just pick a subject and chat about it. You know, talk a load of old rubbish, but we just have a chat about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're training him up on the Things Network because he still gets very starstruck, you know.
Yeah.
So if we was to interview someone on the Simply Spooky side and there was a guest, I don't know, his biggest hero is Richard Felix, and if we had Richard on, he'd be very starstruck with Richard and he'd be like a gormless zombie going so we're having to train him very slowly and gently, you know.
Yeah. I was a bit like that years and years ago when I first started on NLPI radio.
Yeah.
And we got to interview Phil Wyman.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I was a big fan of his anyway. And I was a bit like that on the first time I interviewed someone like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Well, we did ask Jamie if he wanted to meet Ross Allinson. I mean, I've got Ross Allinson coming to stay with me for a few days. And I don't know if you know him, but he's done a lot he did a bit with Ghost Adventures. Taps he's been on.
Okay.
He's just made a documentary himself, and it's called Naked and the Paranormal and Naked or something. And it was an experiment about being in a place completely naked. Does that heighten your senses? Don't worry, he's not a perv. I checked into that to make sure he wasn't. But it was a great experiment that he ran, and he made a documentary out of it. You don't see anything, no boobs and things, because he blurs all that out. You don't see it.
Yeah.
But it's the concept behind it. And I think he's just releasing that at the end of this month.
Surely it's a bit cold.
To know. Maybe he filmed it in the summer.
Well, when you see these investigators, though, no matter what part of the year it is, they're always like all in black. They're all hooded up, and you know, so it's got to be cold when they're doing the investigations.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask him when he comes.
Yeah.
I know he's over here in the UK filming for some other documentary. He's in Scotland at the moment, so he is coming to me for 3 days, and I'm taking him up to Derby. He's got some business arrangement with Richard, or he's doing something with Richard. So I offered it to Jamie. I said, "Do you want to come with us to meet Richard?" And he's at work, so he can't come.
Oh,
I said, that's a shame. He's going, yeah, but I'd be too scared. What would I say to him? What to Richard? He went,
yeah. It is weird meeting people like that you admire. I suppose, for want of a better word, you know, in the paranormal. Before I was doing anything paranormal, I went up to the Most Haunted Live at Tatton Old Park. When they done their last live, just before they had that big gap.
Yeah.
And I suppose, I was a bit like that when we spoke to Stuart and Carl at the time.
Yeah.
But that was obviously when I knew nothing. I just knew
Do you know, the only time I got a little bit starstruck, and this is me talking now.
Yeah.
Because half the time I don't know who people are. They're just like anybody else as I see them. I don't even know that they're famous.
Yeah, to be fair, I was like that when we was at your convention. And you had a couple from International Ghost Hunters or something, didn't you?
Oh, GHI, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, who are they? I don't know them because I don't watch those shows anymore.
Well, the only time I got a little bit starstruck was the very first time I met Derek Acora.
Okay.
And for me, Derek Acora was a very big deal because this is my opinion. I thought he was a very good medium. I think Most Haunted ruined that for him, basically, because he let showbiz take over. You know, there is politics that goes on behind the scenes there. I know about that. I'm not going to discuss it because I've been told things in confidence. He was a very good friend of Richard's. So I do know a lot of what went on there. But when I met Derek, and I met Derek quite a few times, And every time I met him, I was a bit starstruck. Not because I fancied him. It's not it at all. It's because of the work that I know he can do and what I did see him do.
Yeah.
And because of that, and I had a personal reading from him, and to sit in front of someone that was as awesome as that, and had some bloody lovely aftershave on at the same time. Like, his aftershave was just heavenly. He's like, oh, I love that. I wonder what they. But you don't dare ask him, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, I suppose in the paranormal sense, he was the only one that I have ever been starstruck over, because, you know, he's sitting there going blah 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 and this, and Sam's telling me this and telling me to tell you this, and I'm sitting there listening to it all. It's not sinking in because I just couldn't believe that he was giving me a reading.
Yeah.
And then he asked you, can you accept that? I'm like, what? What did he just say? Because I just couldn't take any of it in because I was just so starstruck by him. And my mum, who was with me at the time, is, yes, we can take all of that, Derek, she said, you know. So, but yeah, that was the only time I've been starstruck within the paranormal.
Yeah. Okay.
No one will replace Derek.
No, of course not.
Big
Definitely
shoes
not.
to fill.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to the last 5 minutes of the show. So if anyone wants to get in contact with you, either to have a chat with you personally or through Spooky,
Simply Spooky.
Simply Spooky. I'd never get that right, ever.
It's Spooky Viv from Simply Spooky.
That's always what I go and say. It's a Spooky Viv thing. Yeah, so if anyone wants to get hold of you there or watch the show, where can they find it?
They can find it on Facebook if you just type in Simply Spooky UK. We normally go live on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. for about an hour, but they can go on longer sometimes, not too much longer, but it's roughly about an hour. I think William's shows are on there. I think he does once a month, but there's posters on there that will tell you when we're coming on, when we're going live, and who we've got on. I'm also on the Things Network. So if you type in on Facebook Things Network, or you can find that on YouTube Things Network. Dan and I go on a Tuesday night from 7 o'clock till 9, so that's a 2-hour show. Sometimes we try and keep them to an hour or an hour and a half, depends on how we feel. Yeah. On the day. So that's an earlier one. You can also find Striking Midnight on YouTube. So if you just put in Striking Midnight Paranormal, there's some of our investigations that we've done last year. There's more coming up this year. There's a lot of content coming this year. So that's quite exciting for Striking Midnight Paranormal. If you want to contact me, you can do that through Striking Midnight, through just message the pages, or you can email me on spookyviv@hotmail.com.
Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. I just want to thank you, Viv, for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Viv.
Thank you for having me, you guys. I mean, it just feels like I just come on and have a chat with two mates. It's great. I love
That's it, isn't it?
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't tell Kerry we enjoyed ourselves, though.
No,
We'll just tell it was awful. Yeah.
It's just the way we roll.
Yeah, we do miss her though.
Oh,
definitely,
yeah.
Of course we do. Yeah, hurry back because we need some research done. Richard, have we got anything to add?
Well, nothing. Just the usual housekeeping. You can go and check out our shows over at paranormalconcept.com, and we've still got some blogs up, I believe, before they're taken down. So if you want to sort of read some of those, go over. So everything there is to know about the show and about us personally is over there on the website. And we are also on Facebook, Twitter and Insta, all under Paranormal Concept.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's covered everything. And it really feels weird doing Kevin's bit, but here goes. So say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.